Oh, we hit the weekly double. Donald Trump has lost not once, but twice in front of two different Second Circuit Court of Appeals panels about the same case and the same matter. E Jean Carroll, the person he was adjudged to have sexually abused in a dressing room in New York, who won not one, but two different defamation cases against him, one for $5.5 million, one for $83.5 million. The Second Circuit 5 days ago said that Donald Trump couldn't have a new rehearing because he wanted it about the $5.5 million loss in front of a 9-person jury in New York. And now the $83.5 million judgment that came out a few months later from a second 9-person jury in New York. Donald Trump wanted to argue for like the 4th time that he, because he was president of the United States when he defamed her, the 2nd, 4th, and 100th time, therefore, he was in the scope and course of his presidential duties, and that means the United States of America is the proper defendant, not Donald Trump, under a doctrine called the Westfall Act. So he wanted to substitute in the United States of America, meaning you and me, as if you and me were responsible for sexually abusing E Jean Carroll, therefore cutting off her ability to collect on her $83.5 million, because next they'd argue sovereign immunity. Can't sue the state, can't sue the king. Second Circuit panel in 5 days, this time led by senior status judge Denny Chin, said, not so fast. They denied the motion to have the United States of America intervene under the Westfall Act. This issue has already been the subject of multiple appeals where Donald Trump has lost. So that's the last stop on the train, unless the United States Supreme Court decides to bail him out about a civil case, about a conduct, a sexual abuse conduct before he was president. I'm not even sure this Supreme Court goes that far, but let me break it down for you right here on Legal AF. You're here already. You like this kind of content? You like these kind of updates at the intersection of law and politics? Then come to Legal AF. Hit that subscribe button. You know what we're going to have up here on Legal AF in the next day or so? An interview with my co-founder at Legal AF, Ben Meiselas, with Robbie Kaplan and E Jean Carroll before this particular new appeal decision just came out late last night. Let's get into it. What happened? Remember, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, there were two different cases against Donald Trump brought by E Jean Carroll because he couldn't stop defaming her. The first case was about him sexually abusing E Jean Carroll. It's no longer alleged. It's proven before a 9-person, 9-0 jury in New York federal court that he sexually abused her in a dressing room in Bergdorf Goodman department store on Fifth Avenue, right between Central Park and Trump Tower in the 1990s. That they bumped into each other. They sort of knew each other. She was a successful Elle magazine editor and was married to a well-known ABC News, local ABC news anchor who I knew and watched since I was a child, John Johnson. And then playful banter turned into ominous sex abuse, as proven to the jury. First case, Alina Habba represented Donald Trump along with Joe Tacopina. Jury awarded E Jean Carroll $5.5 million. It was based on the defamation, the impact on her, emotional distress, and economic impacts, and all of that. But the defamation was based on statements he made before he was president. So no immunity issue. The other case got filed. We called it Carroll 2 because he defamed her again after he was president. However, that issue, or defamed her again while he was president the first time, and so they got out of sequence in terms of the trial order because Donald Trump appealed and said, "Hey, when I defamed her effectively as president the first time, I had immunity. I had Westfall Act immunity. I was within the course and scope of my duties as president to defame her effectively." Well, that got batted around between two different appeals courts, one in D.C., the territory of D.C., and one at the Second Circuit. And he lost. And the Department of Justice, then under Joe Biden and Merrick Garland, said, we're not going to intervene. We're not going to step in and take you out as defendant, as the United States of America. We decline. That's what happened. Jury comes back. Donald Trump testifies in that case. He changes his lawyers. Worst result, $83.5 million judgment. This is now for the defamation that he did while he was president. The first trial, again, was after he was president, in between the two presidencies. So just temporarily, it got a little out of line because of appeals. Now, Donald Trump appeals the $5.5 million, the first trial judgment, claims that Judge Kaplan made all sorts of mistakes, reversible error, let in too much evidence, shouldn't have let in other women to testify about them being sexually abused, things like that. And he loses on appeal. He then tries and gets a result last week that it was a loss. He tries to argue he needs a panel of the Second Circuit, all 11 or 12 judges, to rehear his appeal because he didn't like the 3-judge panel that ruled against him. In order to win, he's got to get 6 out of the 10 who voted in his favor. He gets 2. He loses 8-2. Done. Rehearing denied. That was 5 days ago. Now, because I don't want you to get confused on these 2 different judgments, 2 different appeals. Now he argues before a new 3-judge panel of the Second Circuit, because they are randomly assigned, led by senior status judge Denny Chin. Side note, I had one of Denny Chin's very first cases 35 years ago. He's now a senior status judge when I was a very young lawyer and he was a very young federal judge. Denny Chin, supremely competent, Obama appointee, senior status judge, joined by 2 Biden appointees, Judge Merriman and Judge Kahn. And they issue a 1-line order that says effectively, your motion for Westfall Act intervention and to substitute in the United States of America in lieu of Donald Trump, which is the first step towards arguing that the United States is not going to pay $83.5 million to E Jean Carroll, is denied. And we will be issuing a longer opinion, but we're letting you know that now. So that's the 2 losses about the same bad act of sexual abuse, 2 different moments of defamation in 5 days at the Second Circuit. I call that a win for justice and for E Jean Carroll. She just appeared, we're going to have it over here on Legal AF very soon, in an interview with my co-founder of Legal AF with me, Ben Meiselas, who interviewed Robbie Kaplan and E Jean Carroll about the case against Donald Trump, and what she's going to do with her earned, because she was a victim, judgment. Seems like she's going to donate a large portion of that to women's rights and victims' rights, which I applaud. Although I also agree that she should keep a fair share of it as compensation for her injuries. But she was never about the money. I guess the point is she was never about the money. This took great courage to take the stand literally against Donald Trump and win, not once, but twice through appeal. And what happens next? Goes up to if the Supreme Court wants it, Donald Trump will have to try some sort of writ of certiorari, some sort of emergency application. I'm just not so sure they want to get into a civil, not criminal matter involving conduct when Donald Trump wasn't yet president. I mean, this happened in the 90s when he was a real estate developer or whatever he was. I think it's after the bankruptcies, but before the Apprentice appearance. I think it's in that time period when he's just running around New York, apparently, as we know from the Access Hollywood tape, grabbing women by their genitalia and getting away with it because of his celebrity, or jamming his tongue down their throat. Another comment from Access Hollywood. So I'm not so sure they want to get, they're itching to get involved with that, or they don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Even as right MAGA as some of the Supreme Court is and can be, they've seemed to have backed off getting involved when it's about a civil judgment matter against Donald Trump. It touches on the presidency, but only so slightly, and not even in criminal liability. They're all hot and bothered about criminal liability. Let Trump get away with murder. No criminal liability because of the immunity decision. But civil judgment that he can't pardon himself out of about conduct when he wasn't president yet. And the only connection or connectivity to the presidency is that he made some comments while he was president in defaming her. I don't know her. She's not my type. I would never do that. She's crazy. She's nuts. She's a left-wing radical, trying to shake me down for money. All these statements he didn't have to make. I don't think they're going to step in on this. The appellate courts have spoken about whether he was within the course and scope of his duties. I don't think they want to get involved with this, but weirder and more depraved things have happened at the United States Supreme Court, who we no longer can count on to protect the downtrodden, the disenfranchised, the disadvantaged in society. Just can't. The only people that seem to win at the Supreme Court on a regular basis are oligarchs, the wealthy, the advantaged, the privileged, and Donald Trump. Yeah, sure, there's some other rulings here and there around the margins. But when you're talking about, is this a refuge for people to seek justice in America and to have their rights properly declared under the Constitution? I don't think anybody would argue with me that this is not this current version of the United States Supreme Court. I mean, and I'm not just attacking them or criticizing them, if you will, because they are Republican dominated. My entire life, really, for 50 or more years, the Supreme Court has been in the hands, in the majority, of the Republicans. 50 years. It's never been moderate. It's never been liberal. It's never been the Democrats leading the Supreme Court. We've never had, in the last 50 years, a Chief Justice that was a Democratic president appointed. So it's not that. I've admired aspects of the Supreme Court dating back to the 80s and 90s when I started law school. And I could admire certain moderate Republicans like Sandra Day O'Connor and a few other ones. And I disagreed with most of what Antonin Scalia said, but he was brilliant. I could follow his logic. I just didn't agree with the end result. But this group, Alito Thomas, dragging over Gorsuch and Kavanaugh and fighting for the soul of America through Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett, forget it. Forget it. It's not about who appointed them. It's about their jurisprudential philosophy, their elitist smugness that damages American values. That's what it's all about. I'm glad you're here. You're on Legal AF. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button. Come over to Substack where I'm posting this new order. You can take a look at it for yourself along with analysis. And of course, we got Legal AF, the podcast. I got a brand new podcast. Did I tell you that? Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I do a show now on the Midas Touch Network, just myself, called The Intersection. And come on over, pick it up on audio downloads. I need some more audio downloads, get that thing up and running, kind of get some lift, as they say, and some 5-star reviews. I think we got about 100 5-star reviews already. We need more. I need more. So I'm glad you're here with me. Until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event, by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states, and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.